Grandmaster Ben Feingold back with another video in our series, The Ultimate Blunder. We're talking about premature resignations, and let's talk about a game between the best human and the best computer at the world at the time, between Deep Blue and Garry Kasparov. A lot of you aren't old enough to remember this match, but I certainly am. And this was the ultimate blunder because Garry Kasparov had this position, which should be winning for white. And engines today say white should trade queens and play king f2, walk the king up, check the king back, and eventually white can break through on the king side. And the engine says white has a winning position. And instead of doing that, the engine played rook a6, and Kasparov thought a while and ended up resigning because, well, it's the ultimate blunder. How am I supposed to have videos if Kasparov's not resigning when he shouldn't? And when the game ended, Kasparov's team actually knew that he had missed something, and they were afraid to tell him because that would affect him for the rest of the match. And they actually had a discussion about when to tell him or not to tell him, or what if he found out from somebody else and his team didn't tell him. So that was pretty funny. But in this position, black is actually okay, and it's understandable Kasparov didn't see it, but at least he could try. He could play the move queen e3. Instead, he resigned here. But after queen e3, threatening the bishop and some perpetual checks, queen takes d6. I don't blame Kasparov for not seeing this line because the next move is virtually impossible to see. First of all, white just took a bishop. So if black takes the bishop, and I'm sure Kasparov saw this, hoping for queen takes rook, and then black gets hundreds of checks, he can play queen c7 check and take the rook with check. And there's no perpetual there. So yeah, now white has time to get his queen back into the game, or his rook. Rook a1's winning, queen b6 is winning. Queen b6 is what I would play because I want to get my queen back there. However, even though white is a piece ahead and black's king doesn't look too good, black is still drawing here amazingly with the move rook e8, saving his rook, threatening the bishop with the queen, and there's going to be perpetual check situations. So for example, white doesn't have a forced mate, like queen check, king g8. So let's say that white wants to save his bishop, because if I was white, I would want to save my bishop. So let's play bishop f3, like for example. Okay, now we play queen c1 check, and we check forever. You're not going to escape the checks. There's nothing you can do. I always have a check. If you play bishop e2, I have queen f4 check. And I'm always checking you no matter what you do. And this is the video where we show you perpetual checks that were missed by the person who resigned. After here, we have queen c3 check, king e2, queen d3 check. And the engine looks at every legal move and says, nope, it's a draw. I always have a check. There's nothing you can do. And of course, to see this, you have to see the move. Let's go back. You have to see the move rook e8. Wow. Okay, because queen takes bishop's the obvious move, but that loses immediately. Rook e8, white's a whole bishop up, and it's white's move. But still the engine says, no, it's a draw. So that's amazing. Kasparov missed a chance to play queen e3 and draw the engine in this important match. Instead, he missed it. He resigned, and that's a premature resignation. The ultimate blunder when he could have played queen e3 and fought for that perpetual check. Okay, that was the greatest player who ever lived, possibly, resigning in a drawn position. Let's look at another game with a similar story. Now, in our next example, we have unknown player Theodore Van Schev versus the famous player from the past, Richard Teichmann. Richard Teichmann has a big attack here. As you can see, Teichmann has the black pieces. And this is a winning attack for black, but Teichmann wanted to win the game now, and now he did. He played the blunder, bishop takes f2. I don't want to call it a blunder, But, if an engine is standing behind me, better call it a blunder. Because, engine's like, no, that doesn't win. Other moves win. So that's a blunder. Now, after bishop takes f2, what the engine doesn't know is that move does win because white resigned. So that won the fastest. Queen h3 mate is the threat. And if you play knight g5, stopping queen h3, we have queen h2 mate. Okay, and if you take the bishop, knight takes his mate. And not only is it mate, but it wins the queen. Okay, so in this position, white resigned, and everybody was happy, except white. And here, white can actually play on. He can play bishop takes f7 check, which looks like it does nothing. I mean, it's just a check. Black gets out of the check. So what? Okay, let's look at the different ways of getting out of the check and why they don't work. If you take the bishop, king takes f7, queen d5 check. Now, got to be careful here because this bishop is coming and, white can get an attack also. So we can look at a couple variations. King e7, bishop g5 check, king d7, queen f5 check. And obviously, this is just a perpetual. This is our perpetual video. And if you play king e8, then black avoids the draw by losing the game. And now he just gets checkmated. Okay, and white's the one doing the checkmating here, not black. Okay, so black has to be careful. Okay, now the other thing he can do, instead of playing king e7, is he could play king f8. That's another move. But I still have queen here check. Now, obviously, if you don't want to get perpetual checked, you could play knight f6, but now you're not threatening anything. There's no queen h3 mate. The queen on f5 defends it. The knight is gone. White can just play bishop g5 and be winning. There's no threat for black. White has the attack, black doesn't. And otherwise, we just keep perpetual checking if your knight's not going to block. Now, another way to play, let's say you don't take the bishop, you play, I don't know, let's play king e7. Okay, you got to play something. Now, bishop g5 check again, king f8, and now the brilliant move, bishop f4. And you can see we're defending the mate with queen h3 because we have a knight and a bishop that are controlling h2. So we could play knight h2 or bishop h2. And once again, white's winning. So you have to take the bishop if you have the black pieces. Now there's no threat. Queen h3 is not legal anymore. We play bishop h5, and the position's about equal. Material's about equal. Both kings are under attack, and so forth. So instead of resigning, he could have played a spite check with bishop takes f7 check, and that would have worked. That's good enough for the draw. If we try to run away, one last variation, run away, then you can't save your knight. Check, take the knight, and black has no pieces left. Take the bishop, I take this. So, yeah, bishop takes f7 check. Looks like desperation, but desperation was working. So he resigned instead. He shouldn't have resigned. The